Hey everyone, welcome to Locke Outdoors, and today I have no idea what I'm going to do. All I know is I got the old rucksack on, my old woods coat, kind of going old school. Got a shotgun. If I'm lucky, I might get a little bit of small game. We'll see. It's really windy. So yeah, stick around, make sure you like and subscribe. Maybe we'll get some. So I decided to take a little break from walking around. So far there's been nothing here. So I'm going to just have a little coffee and get up a little fire, and I figured I'll walk you through my process when I'm doing like a little outdoor fire. Alright, stay tuned. So here I am. I'm not that far off from the main trail right now, probably about 50 meters or so. And I'm going to set up a fire. Now, if you look at the ground below me here, all this is moss, all right? Now, yeah, moss is very comfortable and it's easy to walk on, it's easy to sit on, but it's very damp and there's a lot of moisture in it. So when you want to build a fire, you want to build it either on top of a platform of some sort, like a fire bed, or have it down to a drier portion. Now, one of the other things you want to look forward to is natural shelters. Natural windbreaks for your fire. Now, here there's a lot of windfall. There's trees falling down right here. There's another one right here. And if you want to have an efficient fire, it's not a bad idea to put your fire right at the base of those, because that root system right there will act as a heat wall and will actually reflect heat back at you. So that's something that you can think about. Now, it's not necessary, but it does help. All right, it does make your fire a little bit more comfortable. So that's something to think about. Now, let me see where I'm going to build this thing. All right, so I found a fairly large size windfall with a root system here. And there's not that much moss right at the very bottom here. So I'm going to set up my fire right up against this. And yeah, should be big enough here. And I'm going to make a little spot for me to sit, and then we'll see what happens. All right, let's get the fire started. No matter what or how damp or wet it is, your best success for getting good firewood is looking for dead standing trees. All right. Now, the thing that you may have to be aware about is that just because it's dead standing, all right, if you look, this is all moss around here. This is all water that I'm pretty much standing on. So sometimes these dead standing trees are rotted and they're not going to burn very well. And so you kind of got to find the right pieces, and you may have to dig down through it. Like, I think that if I was to try to knock this down, I would have to get up to the higher parts to get anything that's really any decent for fire. If not, then the lower stuff, that's all soaking up moisture, and that's probably all rotted down on the lower part. So these are a lot of these little things that you want to think about to make your life a lot easier. So, for example now, like this tree right here, I would say this one's pretty good. And another thing to look forward to, if you can, is tree that don't have the bark on it that's exposed, because this gets wind dried as well, so it makes it a little bit easier to light your fires. Look at that one there. This one here I'm going to chop down into, and I'm going to try to get as much dry wood as I can out of this one. All right, so this is a good example. I just took a couple of chops here. So that's that tree. You see this? All that's rotted. All right. that won't burn very well. And when I hit it with the axe, a whole sheet of this stuff fell off. Look at that. This stuff here, not the best for fire, for starting a fire anyway. It'll burn once the fire is hot enough and you can throw it on, but it won't burn very well. But when I took the axe and I dug down into it, made a couple of chops, you get into the inner layer and you're going to find the drier stuff. And that's the drier stuff that you want to get. So you want to get into this tree and break it apart. And once you get that, you got some good firewood. Pretty fire. All right, so I wanted to show you the difference. See all this wood right here? I just chopped that tree down. All that's rotted. That wood there is rotted and it's wet and damp. It won't do anything. But if I go up a little higher, you can start seeing some better wood here. All right. So I'm going to split this down and I'm going to try to core this out and get some nice logs or nice sticks for the fire. And hopefully the farther I go up, the more dry wood I'll get. Because if you look straight down at what I just chopped off, you can see that a lot of this is rotted. Right? Look at that. None of this is any good. You can break it apart and you can get some stuff probably deep in the middle of this, but it's not going to be worth your effort, I don't think. Okay. So now that I got enough firewood to get me going, now I got to collect a handful of kindling. All right, so there's 3 stages of your fire when you're building a fire: your tinder, your kindling, and your actual fuel supply or your wood. All right, so I got my pile of wood down here now. Now I'm getting my kindling. All right, and after that I'm going to get my tinder. So more minutes. So for my kindling, what I'm looking for is dry sticks like this. Old dead branches. And I'm going to get a big pile of that. Because once my tinder gets lit, I want my tinder to light my kindling. And this is where the fire is going to build and get really, really hot. And while that's burning, that's when I start throwing on the 3rd stage, or the largest pieces of the wood. So kind of do it in reverse order, but you need your tinder, your kindling, and your fuel supply. And that's what I'm collecting right now. So I'm collecting all my kindling right now. All these sticks, all through here, all this stuff, all that stuff is what I'm going to use now to get my fire started. Okay, now I'm behind my little windbreak there now. Probably about 3 feet, 2.5 feet maybe away from it. That's good enough. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make a fire lay. Now remember how I mentioned a few minutes earlier about the moss? Moss is wet and it can ruin your tinder pretty quickly, or your fire lay pretty quick. So to help avoid that, starting off, you want to clear out what you can, if you can. But I found this little piece of I found this piece of bark. I'm going to build my fire just right on top of that. I'm using moss and lichen. Now you need to have a lot of it, and you need to have it flayed out enough for it to catch. Thing is, this stuff really absorbs moisture, so if it's damp, it's not going to fire. You know, people talk about it. Oh, it's a great fire starter, and you light it up, goes poof. Yeah, it does that. Thing is, it doesn't often burn long enough or hot enough to catch anything else around it on fire, even itself. So it's something you need to be very mindful about. People talk about this stuff as the fire starter, the best fire starter out there. It is not. It's far from it. You have to know what you're doing when you're using this stuff. I struggle with it all the time. So I got a bunch of little small twigs. I'm gonna lay that on. Remember, when you build your fire, you have to build small. So you can see what I did. I'll get back here. I'll switch it around. But the very important secret is to build your fire small first. And I built everything in the pyramid around it first. And once the flames started going, then I took my fuel supply and I built like the log cabin around the outer side of it. And now that's good and going. So now I'm going to continue to feed this, and I'll have a nice hot fire now to boil up or something. As you can see, now the heat's reflected off of that. I'm feeling the heat on me here now. I'm about I'm about 4 feet away from that now. And the heat's reflecting off that just comfortably. And the fire's going well. I'm gonna get a little bit more firewood now, and then I'm gonna have a boil up. So as you can see, my fire's going pretty good there now. I burnt down through most of my fire already. And it just goes to show that you need to always start small first. And the biggest mistake I see people make, and I make myself at times, is I get not enough tinder and try to build it too fast. And you have to get a good hot source going and a lot of supply of fuel, and you have to build it gradually. Now, depending on where you are in the world, it's a little bit different, but where I am, when I see people they get like a little flame going, and then they throw a whole bunch of these sticks on it, fairly sized, like pencil, size of like the diameter of a pencil. A whole bunch of those sticks right on top of the fire, and the fire goes. Here that wouldn't work at all. You have to know your environment too, and how to build a fire and where you're located. If not, you may have some trouble. For me, I had to build it small and build it high to allow the flame to go up. And as that flame builds higher up, it gets more heat, and then I can put the bigger things on. If you remember, I used that bark to build my fire on. And one of the things that helped me out there was where it was curved, it allowed to draw air into the sides as I put my twigs and stuff on top of it. And that made a huge difference. Man, I got a lot of heat coming off of that now, and the reflection is coming off the old root system there. And I missed it off camera, but I completely forgot about it. It was my own mistake. Is the moss that was on that actually, once it dried out, started to spark up. So I had to tear it back to make sure that it didn't burn and start like a bigger fire than what I really wanted. So yeah, that is how I build a fire very quickly. Make sure you find good dry wood. Look for dry, dead standing trees, not rotted standing trees. And you may find it, but you got to dig down through it, and you got to chip it off and get nice thin slivers, because if you get it too thick, it's not going to burn. You got to get small and work bigger in the bigger stuff. So I'm going to enjoy this and then head home. So thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe. I really appreciate the subscribers. If you want to see me do more of this outdoor stuff here in Newfoundland and Labrador, like and subscribe. Appreciate it.